5 days after Maduro's capture, the deposed president is in U.S. custody, detained aboard USS George Washington aircraft carrier, sailing from Venezuelan coast toward Miami. ETA 36 hours, then U.S. federal prison. Drug trafficking charges, money laundering, corruption, life sentence almost certain. But in Havana, Cuba's government makes desperate decision. We will not abandon our ally. We will attempt rescue. This is the audacious plan nobody expected. War Pulse has the tactical breakdown of the operation. The carrier George Washington is massive. 100,000 tons, nuclear-powered, 90 aircraft aboard, crew of 5,000, plus 2,500 air wing personnel. She's accompanied by 4 escort ships, 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers, 1 cruiser, 1 submarine. This is Carrier Strike Group 8. Total firepower, overwhelming. Attacking it would be suicide for any conventional force. But Cuba isn't planning conventional attack. They're planning covert special operations raid. Small team, fast boats, helicopter insertion, get on carrier, free Maduro, extract to international waters. The plan is insane, nearly impossible, but they're attempting it anyway, because symbolism matters more than odds. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel addresses military leadership. Comrade Maduro is political prisoner of American imperialism. We cannot let him rot in their jail. Even if rescue fails, attempt shows we stand with allies. The operation is codenamed Operation Libertador. 50 Cuban Special Forces operators involved. From Tropas Especiales, Cuba's elite commandos, trained in asymmetric warfare, hostage rescue, maritime operations, plus 12 Venezuelan special forces. Loyalists who fled to Cuba after Maduro's capture. They know carrier layout, security procedures, Maduro's location. Combined team, 62 to 1. So 2 operators, small, highly trained, desperate. They'll use 3 vectors of approach. Vector 1, fast attack boats, 6 boats, 20 operators. Speed approach from Cuban waters, small radar signature. Reach carrier at night, board via rope ladders. Vector 2, helicopter insertion. 2 Mi-17 helicopters, 18 operators. Fast rope onto carrier deck. Storm detention area. Vector 3, underwater approach. Diving team, 8 operators. Scuba gear, limpet charges, sabotage propulsion. Create distraction while others rescue Maduro. Support elements, 16 operators. Command, communications, backup. The plan launches from Cuban Naval Base Cienfuegos. Night operation, 11 p.m. Darkness, rough seas. Perfect conditions for covert operation. Cuban Navy provides cover. 2 frigates, 4 patrol boats, search and rescue helicopter. They position 50 miles north. International waters. Official mission, training exercise. Actual mission, provide sanctuary if rescue succeeds. Comment if you think this has any chance of success. At 11:47 p.m., fast attack boats launch. 6 Juk-class patrol boats. Soviet era. Fast. Maneuverable. Top speed, 30 knots. Armed with heavy machine guns. They race northeast. Lights off. Radar minimal. Maintaining radio silence. GPS navigation only. Target, USS George Washington. Currently 180 miles away. Travel time, 6 hours at maximum speed. ETA, 6:00 a.m. Just before dawn. Perfect timing. At midnight, helicopters launch. 2 Mi-17 hip transport helicopters. Russian-made. Each carries 9 operators, plus weapons, ropes, breaching equipment. They fly low, 50 feet above waves, under radar coverage. Following fast boats, coordinated approach. At 12:30 a.m., diving team deploys. From submarine, Cuban Navy Kilo-class boat. 8 divers, rebreathers, silent swimming, no bubbles. They have 5 hours to reach carrier, swim 12 miles, carrying explosives, in rough seas. This is where plan starts unraveling. U.S. Navy is not stupid. They anticipated rescue attempt possibility. Carrier strike group on highest alert since leaving Venezuela. Every ship scanning constantly. Radar, sonar, visual, P-8 Poseidon aircraft overhead, searching for threats. MH-60R helicopters patrolling. Sonobuoys deployed. Virginia-class submarine shadowing Cuban submarine. Nothing approaches without detection. At 2:15 a.m., P-8 Poseidon spots the fast boats. 6 contacts, 120 miles from carrier, heading directly toward her. Speed, 28 knots, running dark, suspicious. P-8 pilot radios carrier strike group commander. 6 fast movers approaching from south. Probable hostile intent. Commander orders, launch alert fighters, intercept helicopters, prepare defenses. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets scramble, armed, ready, afterburners lit. They reach the fast boats in 8 minutes. Descend to 500 feet, fly directly over them. Sonic boom, afterburner heat, unmistakable message. We see you, turn back or be destroyed. Cuban boat commander radios his team. We're detected. Americans know we're coming. Continue or abort? Venezuelan commander responds, continue. This is suicide mission anyway. We knew detection likely. Press on. The boats continue, maintaining course, suicidal bravery. At 2:47 a.m., helicopters also detected. Carrier's radar picks them up, 90 miles out, low altitude. 2 contacts, heading toward strike group. Destroyer USS Ramage moves to intercept. SM-2 missiles armed, ready to fire. Destroyer captain radios Cuban helicopters. Unidentified aircraft, you are approaching U.S. Navy warships. Alter course immediately, or you will be engaged. Cuban helicopter pilot responds defiantly, we are Cuban military on training mission. We have right to fly in international airspace. Destroyer. Captain, you are on intercept course with aircraft carrier. This is hostile act. Turn away now or be shot down. The helicopters continue. 60 miles, 50 miles, 40 miles. Destroyer captain has authorization. Fire warning shot. SM-2 missile launches. Doesn't target helicopters. Fires ahead of them. Explodes in air 2 miles in front. Massive fireball, shockwave. Warning impossible to miss. Cuban pilots finally realize futility. They're 40 miles from carrier. Helicopters range 450 miles. Plenty of fuel to escape. But carrier has 40 FA-18s aboard, plus destroyers with missiles, helicopters with weapons. They cannot reach carrier, cannot board, cannot rescue anyone. Lead pilot radios, operation is compromised. Abort, return to base. The helicopters turn south, heading back to Cuba. Defeated without firing shot. War Pulse confirms the rescue attempt is falling apart. At 3:20 a.m., worse news. Virginia-class submarine USS Colorado detects Cuban submarine. The Kilo carrying the diving team. Sonar contact, 12,000 yards. Depth, 150 meters. Colorado shadows silently, invisible, deadly. Cuban submarine continues, unaware of tail. At 4:20 a.m., Cuban sub surfaces to periscope depth. Checking position. Preparing to launch divers. That's when Colorado acts. Active sonar ping. Maximum power. Ping, ping, ping. Deafening underwater. Impossible to miss. Cuban submarine commander knows immediately. American attack sub is right behind them. Close. Tracking. Could fire torpedoes any time. The dive team mission is impossible now. If they deploy divers, submarine is vulnerable. Sitting stationary. Easy target. 1 torpedo. Entire crew dead. Cuban commander makes survival choice. Abort dive deployment. Emergency deep. Evade contact. The submarine dives to 200 meters. Maximum speed. Heading back to Cuban waters. Running for life. USS Colorado doesn't pursue aggressively. Just escorts them away. Maintains contact. Message clear. We own these waters. Leave now. Only the fast boats remain. 6 boats. 20 operators. Still approaching carrier. Now 40 miles away. Closing at 25 knots. But their support is gone. No helicopters for covering fire. No submarine for distraction. No element of surprise. just 6 small boats against carrier strike group. This is suicide. At 5:15 a.m., destroyers move to intercept. USS Ramage and USS Oscar Austin. They position between boats and carrier. 5-inch guns aimed, missiles ready. Destroyer commander radios final warning. Cuban vessels, stop immediately. You are entering defensive perimeter of aircraft carrier. Further approach will be met with lethal force. The Cuban boats slow. Formation breaks. 3 boats stop completely. Surrender. 3 boats continue. 20 miles, 15 miles. Closing on carrier. At 10 miles, destroyers open fire. 5-inch guns. Warning shots. Massive shells screaming overhead. Exploding 100 meters ahead of boats. Water columns 50 feet high. The boats scatter, trying to evade. But there's nowhere to go. Destroyers have superior speed, superior weapons. Helicopters overhead, armed, targeting. One boat's commander makes fatal decision. He fires heavy machine gun at destroyer. 12.7mm rounds. Ineffective against warship armor, but hostile fire nonetheless. Destroyer responds immediately. 5-inch gun direct fire. 3 rounds. First shell misses, close, 10 meters. Second shell hits boat dead center. Massive explosion. Boat disintegrates. All 4 operators killed instantly. Debris raining into sea. The other 2 continuing boats stop immediately. Engines cut. Hands up, surrendering. They watch their comrades vaporized. Further resistance is death. The operation is over. Total failure, complete disaster. Who's responsible for this catastrophe? A. Cuban leadership. B. Venezuelan desperation. C. Both equally? At 6:30 a.m., Cuban and Venezuelan operators in custody. Total captured, 51 personnel, plus 3 boats. Casualties, 4 killed from destroyed boat, 2 wounded from near-miss shells. Remainder surrendered or captured unhurt. USS George Washington continues toward Miami. Maduro remains in detention, oblivious to rescue attempt. He'll learn about it later. From U.S. interrogators. Your allies tried to save you. They failed. You're alone. Psychological warfare, breaking his spirit. The captured operators face serious charges. Attempted attack on U.S. Navy vessel. Piracy. Assault. Conspiracy. Federal crimes. Decades in prison. But there's diplomatic complication. They're Cuban and Venezuelan military, operating on government orders. Not criminals, soldiers on mission. Under Geneva Conventions, they're prisoners of war, entitled to protections. Eventual repatriation. U.S. government debates internally. Treat as POWs? That legitimizes their mission. Acknowledges their combatants in conflict. Implies U.S. and Cuba are at war. That opens complicated legal questions. Or treat as criminals. Domestic charges. But that denies military status. Could cause diplomatic crisis. Maybe lead to actual war. Decision comes from White House. Hold as unlawful combatants. Not POWs, not criminals. Legal limbo. Detained indefinitely. No trial date set. Used as bargaining chips. Cuba demands their release immediately. They are Cuban military, protected by international law. Release them or face consequences. U.S. responds, they attacked our warship. Attempted terrorism. They stay in custody. No negotiations. Stalemate. The 12 Venezuelans in the group face worse fate. Venezuela's new government wants them. These are traitors, Maduro loyalists. Extradite them for trial. U.S. agrees. After interrogation, the Venezuelans know they're doomed. If sent back, they face execution. New government will make examples, so they cooperate fully with U.S. interrogators. Provide information, intelligence, details about Operation Libertador planning, about Cuban-Venezuelan coordination, about other potential operations. They sing, completely, desperately, hoping for asylum, protection, anything. Some might get it. If information valuable enough, others will be sent back anyway. Politics trumps promises. The 3 surrendered Cuban boats are seized. Juk-class patrol craft, Soviet-era technology, not valuable militarily. U.S. has better, but intelligence goldmine nonetheless. Communications equipment, navigation systems, Encryption codes, operational procedures, everything downloaded, analyzed, shared with allies. Cuba's naval operations now compromised. U.S. knows their frequencies, their codes, their tactics. Future operations will be harder. The failed rescue attempt has massive consequences. Cuba demonstrated willingness to confront U.S. militarily. That's escalation, previously avoided. Even during Cold War, direct attacks rare. This crosses line, shows desperation. U.S. responds with increased pressure, more sanctions, tighter blockade, stronger rhetoric. Cuba aided terrorist attempt on U.S. forces. They will pay price. Additional travel restrictions, financial freezes, embargo tightened further than ever. Cuban economy suffers immediately. Tourism drops, remittances blocked, trade restricted. GDP projected to fall 8%. Cuban government expected U.S. reaction, but believed sacrifice worthwhile, showing solidarity with Venezuela, demonstrating willingness to resist, rallying anti-American sentiment globally. The propaganda value outweighs economic cost. At least that's what Havana tells itself. Venezuelan exiles celebrate the attempt. Cuba tried to save our president. They risked war with U.S. for us. This is true friendship, true solidarity. Maduro's supporters feel encouraged. Resistance continues, hope remains. Maybe another rescue attempt, maybe uprising, maybe something changes. The psychological impact matters. Even failed operation shows commitment. Contrasts with China and Russia. They issued statements, condemned U.S., but did nothing practical. Cuba acted, sent soldiers, risked lives. That loyalty is noted, remembered, could matter in future. Russia watches with mixed feelings, admires Cuban courage, condemns U.S. aggression, but also thinks that was reckless. Attacking U.S. carrier? Insane. We would never do that. Too risky, not worth it. Moscow prefers asymmetric responses, cyber attacks, disinformation, proxy warfare, not direct military confrontation. Cuba's approach is too bold, too dangerous. China agrees. Brave but foolish. Now Cuba faces more sanctions. Their economy will collapse faster. Should have worked diplomatically. Beijing prefers patient strategy, economic influence, soft power, long-term thinking. Not dramatic gestures that fail, but both recognize Cuban message. Some countries still resist U.S. militarily. Some allies worth dying for. Even if odds impossible, even if failure certain, the principle matters. The attempt sends ripples throughout Latin America. Left-wing governments admire Cuba, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Honduras. See? Resistance is possible. U.S. can be challenged. We should support each other more. Right-wing governments condemn Cuba, Colombia, Argentina, Ecuador. This proves Cuban aggression. They're destabilizing force. We should isolate them completely. The region polarizes further. Every country choosing sides, with U.S. or against U.S., with Cuba or against Cuba. Middle ground disappearing. Operation Libertador failed completely. Maduro not rescued. Operators captured. Boats seized. Cuba faces increased sanctions. Diplomatic isolation. Venezuela gains nothing. Loses more fighters. U.S. demonstrates total naval dominance. Carrier untouched. Forces victorious. Prisoners taken. But the attempt itself matters. Shows limits of U.S. power. Can capture presidents. Control seas. Defeat militaries. But cannot eliminate resistance. Cannot break solidarity completely. Cannot make everyone surrender. Some will still fight, even knowing they'll lose. Especially knowing they'll lose. Because fighting matters more than winning. Resistance matters more than survival. Maduro arrives in Miami Federal Detention Center. Transferred from carrier by helicopter, military escort, maximum security, media blackout. No photos, no videos, complete secrecy. He's placed in solitary confinement immediately. 23-hour lockdown, 1-hour exercise daily. Monitored constantly. Suicide watch. Federal prosecutors prepare case against him. Drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, money laundering, conspiracy with FARC, Hezbollah connections, human rights violations, crimes against humanity. The charges are extensive, evidence overwhelming. Trial expected to last months. Verdict predetermined. Life sentence without parole. Guaranteed. He'll die in American prison, no question. Meanwhile, captured operators face their fate. 51 total detainees, 39 Cuban, 12 Venezuelan, held at Guantanamo Bay. Naval base, legal limbo. Not POWs, not criminals, unlawful combatants. This designation allows indefinite detention. No trial, no charges, no release date. Just custody, questioning, isolation. International law experts protest vigorously. This is illegal detention. They're military personnel on orders. Geneva Conventions apply. Must treat as POWs. U.S. argues differently. They attacked civilian crewed military vessel. That's terrorism, not legitimate warfare. Terrorists don't get POW protections. The legal debate continues for months. Meanwhile, men sit in cells. Cuba launches diplomatic offensive, demands release at UN Security Council debate. Russia supports, China supports. Most world agrees. But US has veto power. Resolution blocked. Cuba files complaint at International Court of Justice. US violated international law, illegally detaining Cuban military. Court agrees to hear case. Years of proceedings begin. Meanwhile, men remain detained. The 12 Venezuelans face different process. Venezuela's new government wants them immediately. These are traitors, Maduro loyalists, terrorists. Extradite for trial under Venezuelan law. U.S. hesitates initially. Interrogations first. What do they know? What can they reveal? About Maduro's networks, financial systems, support structure, Russian connections, Cuban cooperation, Iranian backing. The intelligence value is enormous. So interrogations continue. Weeks, months. Enhanced techniques. Sleep deprivation, isolation. Not torture, but aggressive. Legal gray area. Some break, provide information, cooperate fully. Others resist, stay silent, endure. Those who cooperate get deals. Reduced sentences in exchange for testimony. Maybe 10 years instead of 25. Maybe U.S. prison instead of Venezuelan execution. Small mercies, but better than alternatives. Those who resist face worst fate. Extradited to Venezuela. Show trials. Death sentences probable. New government needs examples. Visible punishment. Demonstrate nobody escapes justice. Even failed rescue operators. The 3 captured Juc-class boats undergo analysis. Naval intelligence swarms over every centimeter. Hull construction, engine type, weapons mounts, electronics suite, communication gear, navigation systems, everything photographed, measured, documented. The boats themselves have minimal military value. Soviet-era technology. 1970s design. Outdated. U.S. has far superior patrol craft. But intelligence value is different question. These boats represent Cuban naval capabilities. How they operate, what they carry, how they communicate. Radio frequencies discovered, encryption methods analyzed, navigation patterns documented, tactical procedures revealed. Now U.S. knows how Cuban Navy operates. Future interdictions will be easier. Cuban naval operations compromised for years. The psychological warfare continues relentlessly. U.S. releases video of Operation Libertador. Edited, dramatic, shows entire failure. Fast boats approaching carrier. Warning shots fired. One boat destroyed. Survivors in water. Surrender. The footage is devastating propaganda. Shows Cuban military incompetence. U.S. superiority. Makes rescue attempt look foolish, hopeless. Broadcasts throughout Latin America, social media, news networks, Cuban government protests. Propaganda! Lies! But video is genuine. Events happened. Cannot deny, cannot spin, cannot hide. The humiliation is complete and public. Cuban leadership faces domestic consequences. Citizens question, why attack U.S. carrier? What did we accomplish? Now more sanctions, more suffering. For what? Underground dissent grows. Quiet, careful, but spreading. People are tired. Tired of rhetoric. Tired of sacrifice. tired of fighting unwinnable battles. Some call for different approach. Negotiate with US. Normalize relations. Stop confrontation. Start cooperation. This is heresy, but increasingly spoken. Russian reaction is carefully calculated. Publicly, Moscow supports Cuba completely. Heroic attempt to rescue ally. US aggression must be condemned. Russia stands with Cuban people. But privately, Kremlin is furious. Why didn't they consult us first? We could have told them. Impossible mission. Now they're weaker, more isolated, and we can't help them significantly. Russian aid to Cuba increases slightly. Oil shipments, some food, financial credits, but nothing substantial. Russia has limits too. Economy struggling. War in Ukraine draining resources. Cannot support Cuba at 1980s levels. So support is symbolic. Rhetorical? Insufficient. Cuba remains alone fundamentally. China's response is more interesting. Beijing condemns U.S. actions, standard statement, but offers Cuba economic package, $500 million in credits, infrastructure investment, port development, telecommunications, tourism. The terms are generous. Interest rates low. China sees opportunity in Cuban isolation. If U.S. pushes Cuba away, Beijing pulls closer. Long-term investment. Strategic positioning. Cuba is grateful, accepts immediately. This shifts regional dynamics subtly. Cuba was Soviet ally, then Russian friend, now becoming Chinese partner. Power realignment? Influence shifting. U.S. watches this with mixed feelings. Chinese involvement in Caribbean is concerning, but better than Cuban-Russian axis maybe. At least China wants stability, not confrontation. The failed rescue attempt has one final consequence. It makes Maduro's situation psychologically worse. He learned about it from interrogators. Your friends tried to save you. Cuba sent special forces. Venezuela sent loyalists. 62 brave men attacked U.S. carrier, all captured or killed. Operation failed completely. Nobody else is coming. You're alone. This breaks him partially. Knowing people died attempting his rescue, knowing attempt was hopeless from start. Knowing he's truly abandoned now, depression sets in, deeply, permanently. He stops eating well, loses weight, stops exercising, becomes withdrawn, psychiatric evaluation, severe depression, possible suicide risk. Treatment begins, medication, counseling, not from compassion, from necessity. Cannot let him die before trial, need him alive, functional, able to stand trial. The spectacle matters, public accountability. Latin American strongman in American courtroom, facing justice, convicted, imprisoned forever. That's the message, the example. Nobody is untouchable. Nobody escapes forever, even presidents, even dictators. U.S. justice reaches everywhere. Subscribe to War Pulse, where military operations become breaking news. Real conflicts, real consequences, real coverage. Operation Libertador failed, but it will be remembered as foolish courage or noble sacrifice, depending who tells the story. War Pulse, where real conflicts meet real coverage.